All right, everybody, Math 335. Let's get some practice in for solving some quadratic equations. Maybe some other stuff. Let's go with just as a quick reminder, how would I go about solving this? Take the square root of both sides, right? If I do that, what happens? What do I get? X equals 5? That it? Or x equals -5. So the better answer, to put it condensely, would be x equals plus or minus 5. When you take the square root or an even numbered root, you're going to have a plus or minus. An odd root, it's not that way. If you take like the cube root of something, it's just whatever sign it already is. Okay, x squared equals -16. What can I do here? Anyone remember? We're going to square root both sides still, so that's good. And it will lead to 4i, but since we took the square root, it's got to be plus or minus. So x is going to be plus or minus 4i. When there's a negative sign, the square root of -1 is I. It stands for the imaginary number. It's not really imaginary. It shows up in alternating current, the mathematics behind electricity. So, I mean, it has usage. It's not just fictional. I wish imaginary is such a bad name for it. And we can kick that up a little bit. Same thing, we can still take the square root. Take the square root, we got to have the plus or minus. The left side is x minus 3, the right side is plus or minus 1. So if I add 3 to both sides, I get x equals 3 plus or minus 1. This is a circumstance you do not want to leave it like that. This means x equals 3 plus 1 or x equals 3 minus 1, and those are solvable. That's doable. X equals 4 or 2. So if you can come up with the two numbers rather than having to leave it like with a square root sign, something like that, please do so. Ready for more? All right. Let's take a look at another idea. Let's go with anybody. Is anyone there? Chris, are you there? You're always there.
I'm always here.
Any questions?
No.
All right. Let's kick it up a notch. Let's do some completing of the square. Just as a reminder, let's complete the square on this one. We're gonna do like x squared plus 12x minus 18 equals 0. I hope this works out well. I'm just making these numbers up at this point. I'll give you guys a little bit to work on it. Then we'll go over it together. I wish fucking my phone would remember the connections on fucking campus. Don't make me sign into it every time. It's fucking annoying. Like this is the only place. No, not true. Starbucks makes me do it too. They're a business. I get it. I guess this is a business. Can I have like a teacher one that's like
I think automatically slowly every time I.
you what?
But no, here's what I have one.
Funny.
That's kind of. Like, I don't know which is worse.
I don't know what the original, the first name might be a real name.
But that's what I'm saying, is like, that's like an actual name.
Right.
It's like-
I'll show you guys what I showed her. It's not right to just share it with you, her.
it's
Let's
like
see if
when
it
you
shows
see
up.
Like blanked out, then it would like, your mind automatically. Exactly, it makes it worse when you censor it.
Right, it's worse censored.
That is funny.
It's funny though. don't know if I should be sharing that with students. Especially while I'm recording it, that's not the brightest thing to do.
You're,
Oh, well, I don't know.
you're my one.
I'm just sharing funny memes or pictures. What's the first thing we do when we're completing the square? Anybody? That's a really good spot to start. Let's move that 18 over.
Okay, so that's what I started doing. I was like, wait, it might actually be right.
Now what?
Wouldn't it be 12, but it was itself?
But she had it 12 divided by 2, and then what? And do what with it? Okay, so 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6 squared is 36. If I do that, I gotta add it over here as well. That's gonna be 54 over there. What's the left side become? X squared, excellent. So, whatever you did to get the 12, you take the middle, the thing in front of the X, you divide it by 2, you square it. Whatever it was before you squared it is what you put in the parentheses. And then you take that and you add that some bits to both sides. And now it's like the last problem that we did. We can take the square root of both sides. This is x plus 6 equals plus or minus the square root of 54. Let's see, 54 is 9 times 6. So it's the square root of 9 times the square root of 6. I could call that 3 root 6. And now we just finish it off by subtracting the 6 over. And unlike the last problem, we can't combine them as is unless we like turn it all into decimals. And if you're like actually doing something with it, like you're doing the engineering or something, you would. But that's calculator work at this point. It's non-exciting calculator work, but it's worth pointing out what to do. Just make sure you do. If you do it, you need 2 different answers. One is plus 3 square root of 6, and the other is x equals negative 6 minus 3 square root of 6. That was fun, right? Let's do that same problem with the quadratic formula.
I have a question when using the quadratic formula. So
Yeah.
would C be negative 18 or 18?
Negative 18.
I thought so.
So same thing, quadratic formula. Can anybody tell me the quadratic formula before I let everybody sit there and look clueless for a little while?
X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
I heard you doing it, Lindsay. Yeah, you were off.
I don't know what happened.
I don't know either.
The,
Sensing was starting it and then Chris couldn't hear her, so he overrode her. But it sounded like you were getting it too.
the song is in my head every time it gets started.
So there's this, you could do a story with it if you need to remember it. Yeah, there's a story. So a negative boy was undecided on whether or not to go to a radical party or not. Whether or not to go to a radical party. He was such a square. He missed out on 4 awesome chicks. The party was over at 2 a.m. So the negative boy, negative B, was undecided, plus or minus, whether or not to go to a radical party. He was such a square that he missed out on 4 awesome chicks. It was all over 2 a.m. It's kind of dumb. It was enough that I heard it after I had it memorized. I already knew it. But I was like, you know what? I kind of like that. All right, we already know what the answer to this is. So this is literally just a plug and chug and make sure we get the right shit, right? A is 1 because I don't see a number there. B is 12 and C is 18. Negative 18. X equals negative B, which is negative 12, plus or minus the square root of B squared is 12 squared, minus 4 times 1, which is my A, times negative 18, all over 2A, which is 2 times 1. So we got a negative 12, we got plus or minus. Inside the radical, we've got 12 squared is 144. And then minus 4 times negative 18 is plus 72. And this adds up to 216. All over 2. So what does 216 factor into? 4 goes into it. It's 4 times 56 or 54. So it's 4 times 4 times 4 times 6 times 9. So 36 times 6. That's 216. So when I take the square root of 36, I get negative 12 plus or minus 6 root 6 divided by 2. And each one gets divided by 2, so that splits up into negative 6 plus or minus 3 root 6. Which is what we got on the previous page. It's good stuff, right? Leave that up for a second. I wonder if I hit record. Did it say?
You did.
record? Okay.
Whenever you hit record, it gives a message to the people on Zoom saying this is being recorded. Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah, I forgot it does that, yeah. It says it out loud when I do it too, it's just. I've been rattling for 30 minutes. All right, everybody ready? Looks like everybody's ready. Let's kick it up a notch. Let's add a number in front. Oh. No, let's not add a number in front. Let's go on to the harder shit. The fraction stuff. So this is in the 1.6 section. Let's take a look at x over x plus 5 plus 5 over x minus 5 equals 50 over x squared minus 25. Before I get you guys all started and going on your way, what should we do? What's the best way to tackle this problem? Find a common denominator, right? What will we do with the common denominator?
You know. Yeah, make them all.
Yeah, so we find the common denominator. That will help us. It does a couple things. We can find the answers that don't work. Find the domain violations or domain restrictions. And then multiply through by it. All right, I'll let you run with it for a little bit. So what's the common denominator? This is the common denominator, right? Because this is x plus 5 times x minus 5. So what are my domain restrictions? What can x not be? X cannot be 5. Why? Okay, so if you don't know why, what we're doing is we do not want the denominator to equal 0. Bottom equals 0 is bad juju. So if I plug in 5 there, 5 minus 5 is 0. One way to do it is when you have the common denominator, take the common denominator and set it equal to 0. And solve for the things that would solve this. The solutions of this are the bad juju ones. So I'll kind of like say not equal to 0. So in this case, we don't want x plus 5 to equal 0 or x minus 5 to equal 0. So we get x can't equal 5. It also can't equal negative 5. So once we have the x squared minus 25, what can we do with it? We can get rid of the fucking fractions, right? So I'm going to write x plus 5, x minus 5, multiplying by each one. Since I'm going to multiply through by it, I'm going to multiply each thing by it. And while it takes up more space on paper, until you're comfortable and not going to fuck shit up when you do it, it's helpful to have them next to each term. And on this one, I'm going to multiply by x squared minus 25. I'm just going to put them together because then I can see that the two cancel out. Let's let that soak in for a second. So these are like fractions. These are like over 1. So when I'm multiplying, anything that appears on top and bottom, I can cancel out. So on this one, the x plus 5 cancels with that x plus 5. And I'm left with x minus 5 times x. On this one, the x minus 5s cancel out. And I'm left with plus 5 times x plus 5. And finally, on the last one, the x's completely cancel out. X squared minus 25 cancels out. I'm just left with 50. We've still got to solve this. We've just made it easier. We don't have fucked up fractions anymore. So let's get rid of the parentheses. Let's just multiply everything out and see what we got. I'll do the x times each of these, and I get x squared minus 5x. And I'll do the 5 times each of these, and I get plus 5x plus 25. And I still have equals 50. That didn't change. Looks like the 5x's go away, right? You got a negative 5x and plus 5x. I've got x squared plus 25 equals 50. So there's a couple of approaches. We can subtract it over and we're going to get x squared equals 25. Or you could bring the 50 to the left and we've got x squared minus 25 equals 0. This is why we have the plus or minus when we take the square root. When we take the square root on this, we get x equals plus or minus the square root of 25, which is 5. If I did it with the right method, I would have to factor it. And when I solve this, I get x equals 5 or x equals negative 5. How did the 50 disappear? It didn't disappear. I combined the 25 with it.
No.
Subtract 25 over.
Oh.
That's this way. Here I subtracted 20 or 50 that way. It's like magic. Is everyone good with what we got? What's the answer? What? We just found the answer, didn't we?
It's a contradiction, right?
Why?
Because there's no answers.
Why?
Because the domain restriction is all possible solutions.
Yes. Excellent, Chris. We just got done saying x cannot equal 5 and x cannot equal negative 5. And we just got done saying that's the only solutions we got. So we have to throw them out. They don't work. They make the denominator 0 in the get-go, which means there are no solutions. If you had done this, let's see. Yeah, I got time. Let's do this. Let's do this without clearing the fractions. And I want to show you what happens. Because we're going to do something later on where we don't clear the fractions as well. And you'll see the contradiction as well that way. We're going to have the same thing. And we still have the same lowest common denominator is x squared minus 25. To get that, I need to multiply this by x minus 5 on top and bottom. And I need to multiply this by x plus 5 on top and bottom. This mirrors this part right here. So on this one, I'm going to get x squared minus 5x over x squared minus 25. I'm not going to write the x minus 5x plus 5 each time because that just gets tedious. On this one, I've got 5x plus 25 over x squared minus 25. In this one, I've got 50 over x squared minus 25. We're still not going to clear the fractions. We're just going to get them all on one side. They all got the same denominator, so we can make one giant fraction. And I'm going to subtract this over in the same step. So the right side is going to equal 0. I'm going to have x squared minus 5x plus 5x plus 25, and then minus 50. And the bottom is x squared minus 25. And if you clean that up, we get x squared minus 25 over x squared minus 25 equals 0. And if we simplify the left-hand side, we get 1 equals 0. That's why it's the contradiction. There is no solution. Now we're going to be doing this, keeping the denominator for a different reason. we're looking at, we're gonna have inequalities and we need to look at where the solution works and doesn't work. But it's the same process for what we're doing later on, where we wanna keep the bottom. And even though it makes it kind of ugly for a step, it's still technically there. We don't want to get rid of it. And I think that's about it for this hour. Take a break for a little bit till the next class starts. Any questions? It's the questions that drive me. This Matrix. I haven't seen that in a long time. I need to go see the Matrix. No, I haven't been that long. It's been just a couple years.
What day is the test day, so I know when I have to physically be in class?
That's an excellent question. Let me let's take a look.
We're gonna watch.
Startled the shit out of me. Let's see, what is today? Today is the 23rd. Hopefully we get done with 1.8. It looks like we're gonna have the test on March 16th, which is a Thursday. On the Tuesday, we're gonna have a review. Like a review exam. I will give you the review exam. Let me change screens so you can see what I'm looking at. So we should be caught up and ready to do the test on the 16th. The review day, we will do a practice exam in class. I will show you how to do it, but I will give you the practice exam on March 9th. And like, I'm gonna upload it in Canvas. I'm not gonna print out a bunch because about half the students won't do it. But I will upload it so that you can try to do the test before I go over the answers on Tuesday. And then when I go over the answers on Tuesday, if you got all the answers on the practice exam, you don't need to study anymore. You're good, you know what to do. If there's questions you didn't get correctly, now you know which sections you need to study more. And Paxton can tell you, I don't trick students.
Oh, yeah.
My practice exams, if I ask you something on the practice exam, I want you to know that for the actual exam. I'm not one of those that completely changes shit. I hate that. It's like, why give a practice if you're not going to test on that material? Because that's like an unspoken contract between teacher and student. If I give you something I tell you this is a practice exam, I'm telling you this is important for you to know for the exam. If I don't test you on it, I'm really not giving you a fucking good review. So, well, jacket cut. Let's hit pause on this video. Video.